Good morning everyone. We are doing TFT-02 for T21 aspirants, and our topic for today is topic 1B. We are doing scope of the subject. There are two parts. The other part is comparison, but we will not be doing this today. We are doing only the scope of the subject. Okay. There are 5 thinkers in this topic. First one, Compt. Second, Spencer. Third, Weber. Marx, Durkheim. These two have not been mentioned in the syllabus, but they, being the founders, are automatically included in the list of the thinkers that we have to study. Now, Comte, he was responsible for the term sociology. Initially, he thought of social physics, but then he finalized sociology. Spencer was a functionalist. He followed Darwin's theory of evolution, and he formed his theory on the basis of Darwin's theory. He assumed that just as a human body evolves, similarly a human society also evolves, and thus came functionalism. What is functionalism? When we think of a body, it is made up of many organs. Organs are made up of many tissues, then cells. Similarly, society can be broken down into various fragments. For example, social institutions. Social institutions are made up of certain rules, norms, people, their relationships. Society studies all these. It studies the social institutions as well as the people, relationships, processes which are taking place in society like globalization, modernization. So, when we speak of scope of sociology, what exactly are we going to include here? We are going to include the static portion and the dynamic portion. Static portion includes social institutions. They form the structure of society. Dynamic portion includes social processes. These form the dynamic portion or the change. This is important because a society has a certain structure, but it evolves, it changes to come to a new form. This is evident when we study primitive society. It had a certain economy, not exactly defined or properly distributed, but they knew that they had to hunt, they had to gather food, they had to eat, they had to marry, and there were certain rituals. So there was a certain order, there was a certain society. That means this was the structure that time. But with time, changes took place, certain forces, certain processes changed place, and thus we had a new form of society. What was that form? Slave society. Slaves were sold and bought by slave lords. The other society, the next one, was feudal society, where land was important. Landlords, peasants, agricultural laborers were there. Then came capitalism. This you must be remembering from the French society. Because of the French Revolution, changes took place and the feudal society was disbanded. It lost its importance. Now in the capitalistic society, new classes have come up. So French Revolution, it brought with it different social processes of modernization. We also talked of first Europeanization, then it later changed into globalization. So we are studying all of these in sociology. Now, why do we need a scope? When we have to study a particular subject, if we do not define a scope, then what happens? Then other subjects, other disciplines might claim that you are studying our subject, you are studying our scope, you are encroaching in our territory. Therefore, it is better to, you need to demarcate the boundary of a subject, you need to define it, so that later on you can say, okay, my field is this, I am studying family, I am studying marriage, polity, economy, education, and anything that comes in the news, I will research. For example, we had Black Lives Matter. So, I'm sure other disciplines also studied it from different perspectives. But sociology also studied it in the social movement criteria. So we could do it because we had already defined that this is our syllabus, and if something of this sort happens, then we are going to study it. That means we are going to publish journals, we are going to suggest certain changes. Now, there is one thing that you should remember, that our job, a sociologist's job, is to be value neutral. What does this mean? It means that I will not allow my emotions to come into picture. That means I will not force my opinion on anything. I will not become emotional. I will not be personal. I will look at things from a non-judgmental manner. So, what happens if I want to bring change? Initially, the scientists, the social scientists, they did not include this portion. They said that we are only going to study and we are not going to recommend any change. But is it possible in a modern society? No. In a modern society with so many changes taking place, how can we as sociologists not be a part of social change? We will be a part by default. Even if we don't want to be a part, we will be caught in these forces of change. So, even though we cannot recommend anything, any change directly, but indirectly what we can do? we can publish, we can voice our opinion. How? By writing, by blogging somewhere, by tweeting. You will see that there are many sociologists who are active everywhere. So, in the scope, what is happening? We started with static, dynamic portion, but today we have also included not only study but involvement in social change, though we do not do it openly or very forcibly. Now, another aspect that you need to study is that there were two schools of thought while studying the scope. Always you will remember that if any proposal is made, then there will be always for and against schools. Similarly, this happened here also. First school of thought, they wanted a specific study of society. Second school wanted a holistic study of society. Specific study will include thinkers like Weber. Holistic study will include thinkers like Durkheim. We will study these two thinkers in detail, but now you should at least know the names. Specific study, that means a portion, a part of society, but here they considered the society as a whole. A little introduction to these thinkers. Compt, as you know, is considered as the founder. He gave the name sociology. Then we have Spencer. He was a functionalist and he was majorly influenced by Darwin. Actually, most of the functionalists were. Then we have Durkheim. He was also a functionalist. He followed on the footsteps of these two thinkers. Then we have Marx. Now, Durkheim was interested in social order, how to preserve it, while Marx was interested in study of conflict. That is the opposite. Why there is difference, and here why there is similarity, what holds society together, and here what divides society. Another thinker, that means the fifth one, Weber. He was interested in social action or the dynamic portion, and he was interested in behavior of human beings. You can say the psychological aspect of society or sociology, the human beings. So you will be studying this chapter, this portion from IGNOU ESO 11 Block 1 Unit 1. It is a small chapter. Please try to complete it today and send your doubts to Brainstorming Sociology. Also, please drop a feedback. That's all for today. All the best.